Let's talk about grades. Your grades formula is broken down in the following way. 40% of your grade is made up of projects, 40% of your grade is made up of preparation work, and 20% of your grade is your final project. Your grades will be updated regularly and posted for your viewing on Canvas. It's your responsibility to monitor your grades every week and let me know of any errors right away. Now, projects should be pretty obvious when you're working on a project. That would be something that would be worthy of putting up on the wall if we were in a classroom and talking about doing a critique on. Preparations are typically the work that leads to a project, but also includes reading, writing, quizzes, and a big deal for me is progress checks, which we'll talk about in more detail soon. I did not like it when I was in a college class and I had no idea what my grade was until well into the class. So I'm very good about getting your work graded and the grades input into Canvas in a timely manner. It's rare that you would complete an assignment and not either have it returned to you or have the rubric filled out online within 2 weeks, often much quicker. Let me know about any mistakes in the grade as soon as possible. Things where there's a paper trail, obviously those can be fixed easily, but if it's just something like the progress checks where I just come around and check your work or check it online and give you a grade, those type of things are much harder if you go a long time without checking your grade, and then sometimes students try to tell me that they did do something that they really didn't, and I don't want to get in that situation with you. So check your grades, let me know of any errors right away, and we won't have those kind of problems. Standards. We need to keep in mind that a C grade actually means average. Therefore, if you want a B, your work efforts must be above average, and for an A, superior. So let's say, for example, we were putting a work up on a wall, whether it's virtual or not, and everyone taking a look at the work. If your work is right there in the middle, it's not the best one up on the wall, it's not the worst, or it's not among the best or the worst, that is supposed to be a C grade. Now, most people don't like to be told that they're average, and in truth, if you meet all the expectations of the project, and it is truly not below average, you'll probably get a B. However, to get an A, you really have to nail every aspect of the assignment like you were turning it in to a client. So therefore, if everything is awesome, but it's the wrong size, then you would have really made your client's life miserable because they would have gotten the brochure, for example, printed, and it wouldn't fit inside the cover. You might think, based on what you just heard, that I am a strict grader and be worried that this class could bring down your GPA if you are normally a good student. It's true that I'm strict on the project grades and follow a real-world approach to grades, meaning only a perfect grade for a perfect project and a high B for a truly above average project, and lower grades accordingly. However, on the preparation grades, this is your chance essentially to up your grades. It's almost, you could say, my version of extra credit, even in a way, which I'll explain. So first of all, I'm real reasonable on these grades. If I tell you, for example, to do 5 simple drawings by next week to show me different directions for your project, and you do the absolute minimum of 5, rather than me giving you a C, which says that was average, you just did only what I asked for, nothing more, I actually give you the low A grade, which is a grade of 90%, or you'll see the way I grade that would be a 36 out of 40 points. And at a lot of schools, 90% is all it takes to get an A. You're already sitting at an A in your preparations just by doing the minimum that's required. Now, the way it can work is, quote, extra credit, is do more. If I ask for 5, do 6 good drawings, and then maybe you'll get 37 out of 40 points, or more and more. You could get up to 40 out of 40 points, and that's just like putting extra points in the bank that will help bring up your overall grade in the class. So in short, preparations, easy way to hike your grade up. Projects will be graded very real world like. So for you to get an A superior means it really needs to be perfect, like ready for your client kind of work. And speaking of real world, if you get say a 37 out of 40, which is higher than a 90%, please don't ask me, why didn't I get those other 3 points? Instead, you should be saying, wow, this is great. I was just told that my project was superior. Because typically in the real world, there's always room for things to be just a little bit better. Now, what I do when I grade your items is if they're worth 40% of your entire grade, I grade them out of 40 points. So a grade of 36 out of 40 is an A. A grade of 32 out of 40 is a B, and so on. And I'll show you some of this math in a little bit. But basically what I'm getting at is if you don't maybe say trust Canvas is computing your grades accurately, this gives you a way to keep track of your grades, do the math, and double check them. Now, late projects will be penalized just like they would be in the real world, unless you have a healthcare provider excuse. Now, not merely just like an appointment. I don't make my appointments during class time. Expect you to follow the same etiquette. So for me to consider work as late, you need some kind of physical excuse from a healthcare provider. Could even be the on-campus healthcare providers. Now, what if you're sick, but not so sick that you need to go see a doctor and you can't get the assignment done? Well, unfortunately, that falls under the life is not fair category. But I can tell you this, that difference of missing an assignment or where you have to turn it in late one time should not be the difference between you getting a C or a B grade or a B to an A grade. Please, and I mean this sincerely, don't share your excuses with me. Unless you have a copy of a medical provider excuse that you're providing with me, I don't need to hear your excuses. We're all adults. So if you happen to be late on one project, you just turn it in late, take the reduced points, and no need to tell me about your breakup stories or anything else. Unless an assignment is excused, you lose a full letter grade from each assignment, which, say if it's a 40%er, would be 4 points for each class that it's past due. If it's a virtual class, that usually means 1 week. So, but they are due at the beginning of the next class. The reason being is sometimes students will spend the class time working on their project rather than paying attention to the new stuff and then turn it in and think that they've done themselves a favor when actually they've just missed out on all the instructions for the next project. So you get it turned in at the very beginning of the next class. If not anytime after that, then you're falling into it being a second class period late, and then that would be an 8-point deduction or 2 full letter grades. After 2 class periods go by late, you can no longer turn the project in. You just get a 0, and that's kind of final for it. That would mean if you've had 3 opportunities to turn it in, right? When it was due, 1 more class period, and then 1 more class period after that. Please note that I do not approach you for late work. It is your responsibility as a college student to get your late work turned in and make sure that I'm aware that it has been turned in. For example, in a classroom, don't just throw it on the desk and assume that I'm going to find it. I want to explain a bit more about process checks, which, as you recall, is part of your preparations category. To get credit for a process check, you must have the work completed and on time for the process check. If you miss a process check that involves feedback from me and or other students, then the only way that you can get late credit for the process check is if you actually use the process check. Meaning that if another process check is due on that same day or the project is due on that same day, you can't get credit for both things. So the smart way to do it so that you don't end up getting a 0 in your grades would be turn the process check in late, take the late grade, that's only -4 points, and then turn the project in or the next preparation the next class. You'll lose 4 points on that, but losing 4 and 4 points is much better than losing a full 40 points. The exception to that is if the process check does not involve feedback, like let's say that it's just to show me that you completed a task or I've gotten a certain way through, for example, an animation. Those you might be able to turn in on the same day as the project. However, the grade reduction will be 2 grades, so -8 points instead of just 1. Your attendance and participation in critiques in projects is important, among other reasons because we all learn from each other's failures and successes. So the key to getting a good grade in my class is do the work, show up, join in. If you do miss a critique, but then you show up later in that class or that Zoom meeting, you will still be marked down a full grade because of the importance of critiques. Here is that grade breakdown that I was mentioning earlier. And it's basically just a matter of math. You take the number that you got on the project and divide it by 40. So 36 is an A, 32 is a B, 28 is a C, 24 is a D. Absolutely no work will be accepted after the final class meeting. So that means final project grades, there's really no late policy on those. Take care of a quiz question. Your instructor do not accept assignments via email unless prior arrangements have been made or I ask the entire class to submit a particular assignment via email. All right, and I kind of hinted at this already, but I do not believe in extra credit. I just think it gives people an excuse to procrastinate. But you can use the preparations part of your grade to bring your grade up as previously explained. This is for community colleges here, the grade breakdown. If you're at Cal State Fullerton, just make sure you're looking at your particular syllabus for the grade breakdown. Communication is very important in this class. Check in the Canvas announcements regularly. Check your emails regularly. Probably the only reason I would email you between classes would be if something came up that I just remembered. Ooh, I forgot to tell everyone that. So just check it. I'll conclude this grading video with some examples. So to figure out any grade that you receive, if you get a 35 out of 40, just simply put that in a calculator. 35 divided by 40, you get an 87.5, and that equates to a high B grade as shown on the syllabus. Canvas will calculate your grades for you and in a very accurate and efficient way. For example, if you don't have the final project completed yet, you won't have a grade that's really low because the final project isn't in there. No, Canvas will calculate your grades and show you what if I had to give you a grade right now without the final project. So it's a very good way of keeping track of your progress in the class. Now, if you ever want to manually calculate your grades, that's what this section is going to show you. So everything that is worth 40% is graded out of 40 points, and the things that are worth 20% are graded out of 20 points. So you could simply just add those up in the categories, divide them by the number of assignments in that particular category that you've had, and then add them all together. And in this example, I even show you a way to say, oh, I think I'm going to get about this much on the final. And then just notice that sometimes it doesn't make that big of a difference. So it's important to monitor your grades all throughout the semester. And here's a big grade tip: avoid zeros at all costs. Sometimes students incorrectly think that they're just going to try harder on the next project and forget about one of them. But I show an example here where you do just that, do really good on the next project, keep the 0 in there. You end up at a 63%, assuming there was just 3 projects so far. And even if you get a horrific grade in there, you come out much higher. So feel free, obviously, to go back and watch this part much slower. I didn't read everything that was in there.